In a city office, a group of people are unconscious after being covered in giant insect cocoons. Suddenly, a giant insect appears and stabs one of the employees. Started a few days ago. Cooper was late for work but still argued with his father on the phone. His father was tired of Cooper always getting into trouble and called him a disgrace to the family. When Cooper tried to convince him that he was not a loser, he was almost hit by a car, but he dodged it just in time. Cooper then went to the office and quickly went to his desk to pretend that he had been working for a while. However, Boss Morin called her to his office to play a recording proving that Cooper behaved inappropriately with customers, so she fired him. At that moment, a deafening noise echoed throughout the building and everyone there fainted. A few days later, the table was covered with insect cocoons. They were formed by giant insects that now roam the office to bite their prisoners. When Cooper woke up, he immediately broke the cocoon and freed himself only to vomit a strange slime. Just then, a giant bug attacks him. So a panicked copper tries his best to fight back until it pushes it away. After a moment of calming down, Cooper saw Morin in a pod and rushed to help him. When she woke up, she also felt nauseous. She and Cooper remembered hearing noises and losing consciousness, but they didn't know what happened next. Morin also remembered that she was supposed to meet her daughter, so she and Cooper ran out to meet the others. The situation on the streets is the same. Everyone is caught in big cocoons. They find Morin's daughter Sarah, cocooned in her car, so Cooper volunteers to help them. He quickly broke the cocoon, but when Sarah woke up, she misunderstood the situation and sprayed gas into Cooper's eyes. Suddenly, a giant wasp came and grabbed Morin and flew away with her. Sarah screamed for her mother, but she couldn't help. While Cooper still feels his eyes stinging, he agrees to leave with Sarah, only for giant bugs to begin appearing around them. While walking, Sarah accidentally knocked over the trash can and realized that the large insects were reacting. At the sound, she activated her car alarm. The creatures immediately ran towards the vehicle and the duo were able to escape safely. A few minutes later, they entered a cafe, which was also filled with people. Sarah wants to help them but Cooper objects, pointing out that they might react violently. Suddenly, a man named Hugo grabs Sarah by the neck, and Cooper tries to protect her, but is hit in the process. Then, another giant bug appears and attacks Cooper, so Hugo releases Sarah and immediately kills the creature. While the boys are distracted, Sarah takes advantage of the opportunity to free 6 people from the cocoon, including a police officer. The group agrees to work together and discuss how to proceed. Roger says they should leave in his truck, but Sarah points out that the noise will attract insects. Refused to listen to her, Roger and PJ abandon the group and get in the truck. Just as Sarah predicted, the sound of the engine attracted giant bugs that immediately crushed the truck. PJ jumped, but as he tried to escape, he broke his leg and another truck, which lost control, overturned. Roger remained behind the wheel as the bugs rushed through the window to catch him and take him away. Meanwhile, the rest of the group also fights the insects. During the fight, the policeman is killed and Albert, Hugo's father, is stabbed in the back, leaving a strange mark on his skin. The remaining survivors hid in the nearest building and decided to go to the roof to assess the situation. They saw a mysterious red smoke in the distance and a huge swarm of wasps moving away from it. The group discussed what to do, so Cooper suggested going to his father's house because he was a veteran who had a bunker to store supplies. However, it will be a long journey and they don't know how to get home safely. Just then, a flock of insects flew by and Lychee waved her hand, but the insects did not react and flew away. This confirmed that they were blind and used sound to locate victims. The group agrees that they need to learn more about the enemy before making a decision, so they place a radio in the closet to lure a bug closer and quickly trap it inside. Lychee is a scientist and wants to milk the bug like a snake to study its venom, which disgusts the others, but they still agree to help him. They open the cabinet and work together to hold the bug back, luckily getting a venom sample without anyone being injured. While Lychee researched the liquid, others shared their experiences. They all had the same story. They heard a noise, fainted, then woke up and found the cocoon. Finally, Lychee concluded that the insect poison acted as a sedative gas. She also discovered a red gas like what they had seen before. She could tell that insects emitted it, but she couldn't tell what it was. Finally, the group agreed to stay in the building overnight and go to Cooper's father's house in the morning, stopping at each group member's house along the way. A while later, Cooper couldn't sleep because he was sure he had met Sarah but couldn't remember where. He went looking for something to eat, but when he took a box, normal bugs started coming out of it. Cooper is still scared and immediately drops the box, only to be surprised by Cindy. She explains that she works in television and she wants to go with him to the studio to try to call someone for help. Cooper likes the idea and says they can come back to the others in the morning, but Cindy says she just wants to go with him. Too scared, Cooper cancels the plan. The next morning, the group wakes up to a loud noise coming from the closet. It seems like the bug is trying to escape and screams for his friends to come help, so Albert breaks into the closet and quickly kills it. The group agrees that it is time to leave, but Lychee decides to stay and awaken as many people as possible to help fight the creatures. The group leaves, and as they walk away, Cooper tries to talk to Sarah, but he acts like a weirdo and Sarah calls him immature. This leads to both using sarcasm to insult each other. Moments later, they arrive at Albert and Hugo's house and Cooper goes with them to find Hugo's mother. While waiting, Sarah was shocked to find a piece of paper with Cooper's phone number in her pocket. Inside, the trio were saddened to find their mother dead. An angry Albert carefully retrieved his weapon before joining the others. Cooper tries to point out that the sound of gunfire will attract more enemies, but Albert ignores him. The group continued on their way and arrived at Cindy's brother's house. In the yard, there were several people lying in cocoons, strangely arranged in a row. At this moment, Cindy's brother walked out of the garage carrying another cocoon and revealed his transformation. He had become a half-insect mutant. When he saw the group, he immediately attacked and injured Cooper during the chaos. Cindy tries to connect with him, but the guy is no longer human and can't understand her. He thinks like an animal and immediately catches her, so Hugo has to save her. Cindy begs the group not to kill her brother, but it's clear he can't be saved, so Hugo and Albert stab him to death with their forks. The group rushes to Cindy's house to spend the night, and Hugo and Albert lock all the windows and doors. While Sarah treats Cooper's wounds, he says that if he comes back, she should run instead of hitting him. He also admits that he always dreamed about what he would do in the end of the world. He wanted to live in the forest with a girl like Sarah and repopulate the planet. The duo talked for a while and began to bond, especially when Cooper shared that he had also just lost his mother. Meanwhile, Albert explores the house and begins to feel tired. When he met Sarah, he did not tell her about her pain but asked her to take care of her son as she took care of Cooper. That night, Cooper was suddenly awakened by Cindy, who was crying for her brother. Needing comfort, she undressed and asked Cooper to care for her, getting too close for comfort. However, Cooper gently pushed her away and rejected her. Hurt, Cindy angrily left the room. The next day, the group continued their journey and again noticed the mysterious smoke in the distance. Sarah thinks it came from a beetle's nest and wants to go there to find her mother, but Cooper changes his mind, pointing out that the chances of success are extremely low. At that moment, a flock of insects flew above, so the group remained silent so as not to be noticed. Feeling nervous, Cooper and Sarah held hands. Cindy noticed this and her jealousy caused her to collapse, so she started screaming to attract the monster's attention. The others tried to get her to stop, but she refused to listen to reason, so Albert shot her dead. The insects quickly attacked and Albert quickly took down several of them. One of the monsters still approached him and grabbed him to take him away, but luckily Cooper recovered the gun and killed the creature, freeing Albert just in time. Another monster takes advantage of the distraction to attack Cooper, so Sarah rushes to help him. The bug drops Cooper and grabs Sarah instead, flying away with her. In the end, only Cooper, Albert, and Hugo remained. The trio walked for a while and finally reached Cooper's father's house. Ethan was in the garden, calling his dog, who had been missing for a while. Cooper asked him not to make any noise, but Ethan didn't listen. In the evening, Ethan gathered the guests and they discussed their options. Suddenly, Albert lost a tooth, and before anyone could react, he began to transform into a mutated bug and attacked Cooper. A fight ensues, and when Cooper tries to distract Albert, Hugo has no choice but to shoot his own father. Hugo then becomes depressed and explains that that's what his father asked him to do. Unfortunately, the sound of gunfire attracts more monsters. Ethan kills one of them before the three run away and hide in the room, only to encounter Ethan's dog on the way. It turns out the dog was also mutated, but Ethan threw his favorite toy and easily distracted her. Just then, a large swarm of bugs attack and the trio run until they reach the bunker. Now that they were safe, they went to sleep for the night. A flashback began showing that the person who almost hit Cooper's car was Sarah. They argued over whose fault it was, and Cooper gave him her number. In that case, he allegedly damaged her car, which was an excuse to ask her out. In the present, Cooper wakes up and is shocked to realize why he knows her face. During breakfast, Ethan said that there were no government messages on the radio, which meant they couldn't hope for help. He wanted to make a plan to find his way somewhere safe, but Cooper was tired of following his father's every wish and announced that he was going to the nest to save Sarah. He asks his father for help, but Ethan refuses to do it. Go with him. Hugo wanted to come, but Cooper didn't want to put him in danger, so he forced him to stay. Moments later, Cooper walked down the street alone and stopped to use the bathroom. Suddenly a man pointed a gun at him and didn't care about anything Cooper said. He just stopped him. Cooper finds himself in prison with a guy who only speaks Spanish. Luckily, Cooper can also speak the language and learns that the man who captured them and his associates thought that everyone would eventually turn into mutant monsters. So they cleared the streets like vigilantes. Cooper was surprised that his cellmate was part of Leachy's group, but unfortunately, they failed to deal with the bugs. The mysterious red smoke could ignite and cause a fire that destroyed the group's shelter, with this man being the only survivor. Meanwhile, Sarah wakes up in the insect nest to find the queen eating hundreds of people trapped in cocoons and laying eggs. She started moving around hoping to find her mother. A moment later, the vigilante force also took Ethan and Hugo to the police station. Cooper explains that only people with bite marks become mutants, so the vigilantes examined Ethan and discovered that he had been bitten. A gunfight ensues, and as everyone tries to defend themselves, the man in the cell transforms into a mutant, only for stray bullets to quickly take him out. Ethan then takes out the vigilantes. Cooper, Hugo, and Ethan gathered all the weapons they could find and left the station, ready to find the nest. The trio found bicycles and rode together while Ethan explained how he was stung. He released his neighbor's dog from its cocoon and it began barking, attracting the insects' attention. When he fought them, they tried to burn him. Finally, the trio reached a cliff and found the nest. Inside, Sarah is still moving and is shocked to find a mutant child, who immediately starts screaming. This noise makes Ethan sick and he rushes to handcuff Cooper to a tree and knock Hugo unconscious to protect them. After saying goodbye to his son and dropping the handcuff key, Ethan headed towards the nest. A few seconds later, Hugo woke up and freed Cooper, after which the boys also ran towards the nest. Inside, Sarah was moving carefully to avoid enemies when she was suddenly surprised by Ethan. Thinking she was being attacked, she stabbed him in the arm with a knife. Ethan soon appears and Sarah tearfully admits that she still hasn't found her mother. After Ethan comforts her, they go looking for the queen, but they don't find her where Sarah last saw her. It turned out that the queen was on the ceiling preparing to attack, so Ethan opened fire. However, queen bees are tougher than other insects and do not fall easily. Cooper and Hugo hear the gunshots and follow to help them. At that moment, the queen let out a sharp and painful sound, but because Hugo had hearing problems, he was not affected, and tried to throw the explosive into the queen's mouth right at the time. Cooper shoots him too, but at that moment Ethan begins to turn into a monster, so Cooper, Hugo, and Sarah decide to run away. As they headed towards the exit, the explosives detonated and flames engulfed the nest. Some time later, Cooper wakes up in the hospital and sees Sarah and Hugo are fine. Outside, they heard birds singing instead of insects chirping. Thinking it was all over, the trio took to the streets and started freeing people while Cooper and Sarah agreed to go out with them. At that moment, they saw something in the distance and got scared. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.